All right, welcome to the warm-up. Jeff Power, our insider, joins us on Ward for Soul. We are talking week 2 of the Houston High School football schedule. Week 1 saw two big upsets that really changed our rankings, which we'll see later in the show. But one of those teams that lost is ready to get that W, but they're going into a hard place to do it. That's Katy Tigers. They lost in that first game, and they're going to take on Atascocita in our game of the week. What do you feel about that one, Jeff?
Well, first of all, the Katy Tigers certainly got their wake-up call in week 1, falling to Dickinson 34-21. Who saw that coming? I mean, the 9-time state football champion Tigers were outgained 374 to 155 in total yards, including 170 on the ground by Malachi Gamble. I mean, the Katy defense is supposed to be the bell cow for them, but I tell you what, it's going to be a wake-up call for them. Katy quarterback Jackson Franklin and the Tigers offense, they will get going, and that defense better step up against Atascocita because they're explosive. The Eagles actually trailed Lamar, believe it or not, 14-0, allowing an opening kickoff return for a TD, and then following a fumble on the ensuing kickoff, which resulted in another touchdown. Atascocita kind of got it going on, but they got to clear up those special teams problems. But they did score the next 31 points. They led by 18 at the half. They won it 48-28. And, of course, ironically enough, Atascocita trailed Katy on the first road game last year, 14-0, before rallying to win this matchup last season, 41-24 in week 2. So we'll see how that plays out. Katy, though, I feel like they'll be much better coming out of that loss to Dickinson. And I certainly think Atascocita has some room for improvement as well.
Yeah, they got to get off to some better starts here, especially when they get into district play. Our next game is down at Hightower. It's a Thursday night affair. Spring Westfield go down to Hightower. Boy, I'm really worried about 14-6A. Almost all of them started off with losses, except for 2 of them. And Spring Westfield was one of the teams that picked up a loss in the opening week. But they're taking on a Hightower team that won't get much comp in the 21-6A, but maybe get some here.
Well, Spring Westfield's coming off a 32-14 loss to CE King. The Mustangs were down 27-7 at halftime. But the Westfield defense played better in the second half. The Mustangs will have to get better offensively as well, though. Westfield's passing attack was pretty much non-existent. Westfield head coach Desmond Black has 14 starters back from last year's 8-3 squad. They've got a lot of experience, but I definitely expect major improvement for the Mustangs this week against Hightower. The Hurricanes are 1-0 after defeating Clear Falls 42-37. That was a tight game. The Hurricanes, of course, have rich history. You might remember 22 playoff appearances. Twice they've been in the state championship game. Hurricane head coach Cornelius Anthony, who always has a strong offense, including 7 returning starters, is a big reason why I think they're going to do well in this game.
All right, and finishing up the lineup, a game that you'll actually be at, so you guys get a chance to meet old Jeff Power. He's out on the sideline, shake his hand. It's at Willis. Klein Collins is going into Willis to try to slow down Jermaine Bishop. How's that going to work out for him?
Well, hey, Ward, Klein Collins picked up a great win in week 1, hanging on to beat College Station 35-28 despite leading 28-7 at the half. Tigers head coach Adrian Mitchell has Tiger Nation thinking this could be a magical season. Collins returned 13 starters from a Division II, Region II state semifinal appearance. Quarterback Brayton Schagen, over 1,800 yards passing and 18 TDs to go with 1,200 yards rushing and 21 touchdowns on the ground last year. He has had a hand in on the Tigers, putting up 6 touchdowns last week. Meanwhile, Willis opened up 2025 with a 42-14 win over Benjamin Davis. Willis quarterback Lincoln Frazier is a stud. In fact, he threw for 242 yards and 3 TDs and also rushed for 49 yards and a pair of scores. Cornerback and wide receiver Jermaine Bishop, who everyone's talking about, had a huge game as well. 9 catches for 142 yards and 2 TDs, and that was in some double teams. Of course, the Willis Wildcats have recorded back-to-back 12-win seasons. They are going to be loaded, though. Trent Miller making a name for himself and this Willis staff.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to win yet another 13-6A title, and the guy trying to slow them down is who I caught up with in our Media Day segment. I talked to Adrian Mitchell from Klein Collins.
The Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive our award-winning products. Serving up the best treats and eats in Texas. Stop by DQ and treat yourself before and after the game.
All right, Media Day, like we said, we are joined by Klein Collins head coach Adrian Mitchell. Mitchell coming off a huge win. You know, Coach, some people that paid attention to our podcast last year, me and Step, couldn't figure out Klein Collins all season, man. We were on the bandwagon, we jumped off, we got back on. You guys eased into the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you win two, and you give Longview probably one of their closest games until they hit South Lake. Talk to me about your feelings of last year and how you were trying to look to take what you learned from last year into this year.
Well, last season, I mean, obviously it was full of ups and downs, but our kids, they were resilient, and I think a lot of that was that they hadn't experienced that type of adversity. And I blame myself. During the off season, during the summer, we try to, as best we can, put them in adverse situations to see how they're going to respond. But there's no way to simulate starting off 0-3. So, the kids, I mean, they were shell shocked. They were like, oh my goodness, what's going on right now? First game of the season against College Station last year. I mean, we had a lot of kids that ended up not playing because of cramps, because of this, that, or the other. I mean, there's some injuries in that game. And so it's a game very similar to Thursday night. But the difference is we ended up in the right column this year, whereas last year we didn't. We end up in the right column this year because they missed on some opportunities. Obviously, we missed on some opportunities, and really no different last year. And then rolling into district, playing against a really good Tomball team, I think that caught them off guard. Our kids, they've never lost to Tomball. So losing the Tomball in their minds, they were like, oh my God, we're not going to the playoffs. And they thought the wheels were falling off the bus. As a coaching staff, we just reiterated the point that, guys, we're 0-1 where it matters. Those other two games, they hurt your feelings, but in terms of our goals, for the year, that really doesn't have that much of an impact on our goals for the season. So like I said, kids and coaches, like once we kind of got a grip on our true reality, the kids were able to rally and play much better football.
Well, as we're doing this interview, it's a Sunday. You're in there. Obviously, your coach's game tape is on probably one guy, right? Jermaine Bishop over there, Willis. That's another game where you got to get back, and you're going on the road. Talk to me about that game and what you hope to get out of it and how you hope to get on.
Well, we schedule our preseason or non-district games intentionally. We want to face some explosive, some extremely competitive teams. I'm watching college football yesterday, and they're talking about how important it is to have those big-time matchups, the UT, the Ohio State matchups, and those Florida State, Alabama, those types of games early in the year. It benefits us in the long haul to go out, play those games, and improve in areas that we need to improve, to have things revealed about ourselves that maybe we didn't know going to the game, and we're able to build and continue to get better at whatever those things are. So obviously we want to make sure that we get better. Like that's the ultimate objective. We want to make sure we want to win, but getting better is the ultimate goal, in these non-district games, because district is what matters the most. I mean, we just have to make sure that we weather the storm and have a plan to obviously try to, that's the type of kid like Jermaine, like that 7 is special. He's special. But they also have some other players. So we have to make sure we play sound defense and make the plays we're supposed to make.
Well, that's going to be a fun one Friday night. We're definitely going to have a camera out there. Good luck, Coach. Week 2, and for you got district play starting right after that. So good luck, Coach, and thank you for joining me.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
The Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive our award-winning products. Parker University. Check out our bachelor's degree in strength and human performance today.
All right, Jeff, let's move on to the agenda because these are some second-tier games, but I don't even know if I want to call C.E. King Dickinson a second-tier game. These guys are both on a roll, and C.E. King really bolstered their non-district schedule because they got to compete in 23-6A. What are they going to do against a Dickinson team that just finished upsetting Katy?
Well, 2 surprisingly easy wins for C.E. King over Spring Westfield, 32-14, and of course Dickinson beating Katy, as we mentioned, first time ever, 34-21. New C.E. King head coach Corey Laxon had 14 starters returning, including 7 on each side of the ball, so the cupboard wasn't bare. But running back star Deion Sims is the key. He rushed for over 1,000 yards and 13 TDs last season, had a big game against Westfield. He'll be the key weapon to stop if you're Dickinson. Now, the Gators are coming off perhaps the upset win of the week, beating Katy by 13. Mentioned Malachi Gamble is 170 yards on 16 carries. He's the running back. But their quarterback, Lorenzo Aguirre, had 221 yards passing and 3 touchdowns through the air. Dickinson head coach John Snelson has really got to be proud with what he's seeing on the offense and the defense. The key in the game, though, is avoiding the letdown. All week, the students and the fans will be telling these players at both Dickinson and C.E. King how great they are. That's going to be a good matchup, though, King and Dickinson.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We'll have a camera there. Another one that I'm looking forward to is up in the Woodlands. Collins Park will be hosting Klein, who showed they can show some offense, but they were 1 point away from beating that Cy-Fair team, which means they got to get the defense settled up.
Yeah, Klein coming off a high-scoring 49-48 loss to Cy-Fair. Now, Kane took the opening kickoff, 85 yards for a touchdown by Max Yates. The reason why I mentioned him, he also had 2 touchdown catches. He had a huge game. Zach Johnson is the leader of Kane, though, the quarterback. He had 4 TDs against Cy-Fair. He couldn't connect on a 2-point conversion pass late, or they would have won that game. They went for 2 in the final seconds. Johnson recorded 2,500 yards passing and 24 TDs last year through the air. He's definitely the key as far as who College Park needs to stop. But Kane head coach James Clancy, he's only got 2 starters back on defense, and that inexperience showed in that 49 points that they allowed to the Bobcats. But you know what? College Park is under the radar. I'm telling you, they're 1-0. But did you see that they beat Cypress Park 73-6? Yeah. Cavaliers head coach Kyle Coates, he not only has 13 starters back from a 7-5 area finalist, but the Cavaliers were nearly perfect in all phases of the game against Cy Park. In fact, they were up 56-0 at the half, 70-0 after 3 quarters until they called the dogs off. So College Park, though, I tell you what, the quarterback, Camden Hughes, 262 yards passing, including 5 TDs and 2 more on the ground. He's coming off a great season with 2,500 yards passing and 27 TDs, plus over 300 yards rushing and 5 TDs on the ground. Super sophomore season. Kane will have their hands full with College Park. Don't get me wrong on that.
Well, and finally, the Big Red Machine of Crosby headed to Alvin to take on Iowa Colony. You got a chance to spend some time with the Iowa Colony boys a couple weeks ago. What do you think about the chances of Crosby possibly pulling off of what would be an upset there?
Well, slim to none, to be honest. The Crosby Cougars, they traveled to Iowa Colony after dropping a 28-20 heartbreaker to Dayton. Quarterback Lott Robinson had 163 yards passing and 2 TDs in the loss. Tezion Sutherland had 128 yards rushing and a TD in the loss. But you know what the deal is? Crosby is prepping for 11-5A Division II. That's all that matters. They got that district with LaPorte. Of course, they just beat Class 6A Deer Park, plus Angleton, who's always great, Friendswood, Kingwood Park, New Caney, Porter. That's a loaded district. Crosby's trying to get ready for district play. They're going to have a tough time against Iowa Colony. They're also a little shorthanded on the offensive line as well. But Iowa Colony, they are the real deal. They might be my sneaky pick to win a state title this year. Their 41-7 victory over Stafford was led by quarterback Carson White, who had 126 yards rushing plus 164 passing. He had 3 TDs through the air, all to Jaden Warren. I guess that bobblehead helped out for him. He had over 100 yards receiving. And I tell you what, Aaron Turner also had a pair of TDs on the ground for Iowa Colony. Pioneers head coach Ray Garza has to like what he's seeing from his team. I tell you what, their district, by the way, we all know 9-5A Division II is loaded with Richmond, Randall, Fort Bend, Marshall, Texas City, Santa Fe, Baytown, Lee. That's just to name a few. This is going to be a matchup of 2 teams that are really kind of crossing paths before they get into some really tough district play.
Absolutely. And we're going to hear about Carson White this week, too. You're going to tell us a little bit about him in our next level segment on the show. Hey, that's going to do it. Go out and catch a game this week, and we're going to leave you with the coaches' rankings, which, for the first time since we've done it in 2 years, North Shore's not on that top spot. Let's take a look.